CCNA challenge EIGRP. We have two routers, R1 and R2, they're directly connected. EIGRP has been enabled, and the problem is that I cannot see this network on R2 and this network on R1 when I check the routing tables. Your job is to identify the problem and suggest what to do with it. Please remember that on your CCNA exam they can give you a simulation, for instance, and then you have to type, fix something, use some show commands to answer a question or configure a new feature. Of course, you will get questions as well, and then you get, let's say, a section from, let's say, R1, R2, and switch. Then you have to figure out what the problem is, maybe some show commands, debugs, and so on. So here I will run a few commands, and then your job is to tell me what the problem is. To make it easier for you, when you check the description, you will find a link that allows you to download everything that I'm going to type as a document. It means that it will be much easier for you maybe to open it on your own laptop and analyze everything. But please try and do it now. Please focus. I'm going to type a few commands. Try and analyze as many things as possible, and I hope that you will see where the problem is. So the first command I have for you is this one. The second command is show IP route. And this one I will run on both routers for you. Okay? And there is only one more command that I will give you, and then you have to identify what the problem is. Show IP protocols. Again, I will run it on both routers. Okay, that's it. Now you can pause the video, go back, maybe download the document that I prepared for you. It is up to you. Please make sure that you identify this issue and suggest what to do with it. Okay, you ready? I am going to show you what the problem is and how you can start troubleshooting these issues. So let's start with the first command that I decided to give you, this one, ping 10.1.1.2. So what does it mean? Well, I am on R1 and I can ping this interface. So this command was executed by me to show you that, yeah, these routers can see each other. Okay, because they have to form neighbors. We're talking about the EIGRP. So this is something that should tell you, okay, fair enough, these interfaces are up, they're not shut down. It seems that they should see each other. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but you know, it is just the CCNA exam. So in most cases, you can assume that, well, I can ping it, it means it is up and running. So in theory, we should form neighbors. And we should, of course, start exchanging routes. The second command that you saw was show IP route. Okay, and please note that we cannot see any networks here. Yeah, just directly connected networks, nothing else. So it means that something is wrong, because R1 should learn about this network and R2 should know, well, just how to get to 1.1.1.0 and 1.1.1.1, and it doesn't. Okay, so this is something that tells you, okay, there is a problem. The last command, and here is a tip for you if you've not figured it out yet, so you can see where the problem is. You should see where the problem is over here. Okay, so let's try and talk about what you can see. So EIGRP1 and EIGRP1. This is something that has to match on both routers. So this is the first thing that you should check, because you you can assume that R1 and R2 cannot form neighbors because they do not exchange routes, or there is no network command because that's another issue. Yeah. So the first one is EIGRP1. EIGRP1 is, for me, it's always the first thing to check that this AS number has to match. Then I go and check the network statements straight away, because if something is wrong over here, of course this router will not advertise these networks. So on R1 I can see 1.1.1.0/24 and 10.1.1.0. And you can say, well, this is wrong because this is not the network that I want to advertise. But please remember that the network command on EIGRP for EIGRP and OSPF is a bit different, because the network command does not tell your routers, please start advertising these networks. No. You say, what do you mean no? No, because the network command says, can you run EIGRP on these interfaces? Yes. And of course it will start advertising these networks as well. But when you say 1.1.1.0/24, it means EIGRP, can you be so nice and run EIGRP on all interfaces from this range? So it means 1.1.1.1, 1.1.1.2.3.5.55, and so on. Does that make sense? So even though the subnet mask in a way is wrong, this network is included. I know it's tricky, but it's correct. On this router it's much easier because here is /32, so I said, can you match this interface loopback 0, and this one 10.1.1.2 that matches F00. Again, I say, can you enable EIGRP for this interface? For IPv6 it's easier and it makes more sense because you go and enable EIGRP and OSPF under an interface. For IPv4 we use the network command. So believe me, this is okay and it is not the problem. Okay, now the last thing that you should check is over here, and this is the problem. EIGRP K values, okay, and this is something that you have to memorize. EIGRP uses K values to calculate its metric, and by default you can see over here, this is what you get when you enable EIGRP. We use K1 and K3 only. It means that we use bandwidth and delay only, and we don't use any additional K values. I'll show you the list just in case you want to see it. So we use bandwidth and delay, but on this router, yes, I changed it and I said, can you be so nice and use K2, K3, K4, K5, K1, just everything. And EIGRP doesn't like it. You have to match, you have to have the same values for your metric on both routers. Does that make sense? So if you say, I want to include this value on R1, well, you have to include it over here as well. If you include it here, you can't say, no, I don't want to have it here. On the other hand, please remember that EIGRP is more flexible. So for instance, hello timers, just you can, it's not like in OSPF, they have to match for OSPF. For EIGRP, you can say, well, R1, please send a hello message every 15 seconds, and on R2 you can say, well, every 1 minute. It will form neighbors. So this is the problem, okay, K values. And well, I was mean when I created this lab because I disabled logs, so you can't see that EIGRP complains. So if I re-enable logs, I type logging console, you will see that EIGRP complains about it straight away. Okay, it says over here, just to resize. Okay, goodbye, see ya. This is what you can see. Of course, it is a question. It means that you will not see these messages in the reward. You would, as you can see on this router, EIGRP is going to complain, but well, maybe your logs are disabled and you can't see anything. So this is what you have to check for EIGRP. To summarize, please remember, AS number, networks, of course IP addresses, interfaces, yeah, and K values. This is what you have to check if you want to make sure that your EIGRP neighbors are formed.